Welcome to the Lifting Lounge podcast. Join your hosts Josh Parkin and Jack Buffery as they give you the knowledge and the tools to take your physical and mental performance to the next level.
What's going on? We're on video now as well, so I'm going to try and extra hard to catch you out.
Oh man, you got me then. I was like waiting for you. I thought you were still setting up, so I was just like waiting.
To be fair, it is my fault. We're running like nearly 15 minutes late, but you know we're here now, so it is all good. But Josh, how you doing, mate?
I'm good. I'm pretty sweaty actually. I've just had a shower and my lunch, and I've started. You know when you have a shower and then eat something hot, and then your body starts sweating again.
Yeah.
I was like, I just washed all the sweat off me, and now I'm sweating again. So this is
I hate that feeling. I tell you what I notice as well, like speaking of sweating inopportune times, I always find that when I'm stretching at the end of a session, I tend to sweat more then than I do during the actual workout. I don't know if you've ever noticed that. It just happens.
Yeah, I'm the same. I sweat, mate, at ridiculous times. I find it depends on what t-shirt I'm wearing as well. If I wear a t-shirt that is going to show up the sweat more than anything else, I end up sweating more. And I don't know if it's because I'm just worried about sweating and looking sweaty. You know what I mean?
It's like the deathly circle, isn't it? It's like, shit, am I sweating because I'm thinking about sweating or not? Okay, so I think it might just be another worth reminding people again. This is our second video podcast, so if you're listening to this, you can actually watch this shit as well on YouTube. This is the second one we have released. So that's cool. It's interesting. We haven't got like the finances to be funding like a full-on operation of setting this up yet, like a studio or anything. That it will hopefully be on the cards. But you know, we're working with what we've got, and it's all in the bid to give you, as in the listener, like the best experience possible.
Yes.
But then, Josh, it might just be worth mentioning again about the quick the rebrand we've slightly done. So if you just want to quickly go over that again, if you can remember the socials.
Well, I've literally, while you were explaining, I got it up on my phone as quick as I could. So,
perfect.
I can remember. So, yes, we have now changed our social media. So our Instagram is RDA Strength System. Our Facebook is also the RDA Strength System. Our Twitter is the RDA System, because we couldn't have the RDA Strength System as one big thing. And our TikTok is the RDA System as well. We also have a website at therdsystem.com or theliftinglounge.com. You can use either of those. And on that website, there is going to be weekly blogs going out. There's 5 blogs on there right now that you can read through. All varying degrees of things, from stress to beginner guide to training to studies. We do all of that stuff. Everything we're discussing here, there's stuff on the blog side of our website if you prefer reading stuff. And we still currently, our Facebook group is still the same. So that is still The Lifting Lounge, searching groups. So it's our Facebook group. Come in and join if you're wanting to have accountability, live trainings every week from me and Jack, free giveaways, all of that stuff. Then come along and join our Facebook group.
There is a slight possibility, but by the time this episode goes out, we might have changed the name of the Facebook group. But if that has happened, the link to it in the show notes will still take you to the same place. So yeah, just so you know, yes. It might not change. It might change. We haven't 100% nailed that in yet. So just bear that in mind if you do search for Lifting Lounge and you can't find it. But Josh, speaking of the Facebook group, what is it?
So our Facebook group is the go-to place for accountability, for free interaction with me and you. So me and Jack will be there to every Monday, we do a live training on a certain topic for a good 15-minute live training, sometimes longer. And it's also a Q&A system as well. So if you're in that live training, you can ask us any questions, to do with the subject that we're talking about. We then give away free stuff to do with those trainings. And it's also a place just to share your training progress, to share any part of your training or lifestyle stuff that you're improving, just to get motivated, motivate other people, help them motivate you, all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's really cool. And as with everything else we do, to be honest, because we're like gluttons for punishment, we are trying to improve that on a weekly basis just to make sure that we're offering the right stuff to the people we want to work with as well, because that's something else we're nailing in now. We really want to dial in on the right type of clients for us, you know, the people who resonate with the message we put out and the stuff we put out. But I'm sure that's something we're going to talk about at a later date anyway.
Yeah, definitely. And what else do we have, Jack?
I've got nothing clever to come to my mind and witty, so I'll just go straight into what we actually do have. We have the RDA training system, which is our one-to-one personal training system. We're building out our client list right now, and something we haven't really pointed out is that spots for this are actually going to be limited because it is just me and Josh, as well as everything else we do, including full-time in person, being full-time person PTs. And building this business, there is only a certain amount of online clients we can take on, and that roster is filling up. But what we do with that is we strive to understand exactly what point in your life you are in, what you can actually fit into your life in terms of what can you add to it to progress without making you burn out, without making you think, Jesus Christ, this is too much. We really take time to understand where you're at and lay out a full functional systematic plan to get you to where you want to be.
Yeah, definitely. It's super exciting. We're already onboarding some clients. So if you want to get on this, you got to get in quick. We're expecting a few coming in more soon as well. So if you're wanting to utilize all the systems that we talk about in this podcast, then come along, get involved.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, Josh.
So Jack, you know what? I'm not a fan of just sitting down and taking your tip anymore. I want to stand proud and take your tip today. And it better be a super tip. I want a heroic tip from you today, and I'm going to stand proud and take it.
Well, some people who have taken tips from me in the past have said it stands tall and proud. So
Yeah.
Dear, do you know what? Audience, you can probably tell that these are not things we plan out at all. We just try to fucking be funny. Whether it works or not, I don't know. But it fucking entertains us, so that's the main thing. We're having fun.
Yeah, that's it.
But my tip today is to stand like a superhero. So one thing that we have talking about a few times on this podcast is posture. Okay, and posture is something that most people will actually overlook when it comes to their fitness journey, because they're all about just changing the shape of their body, not realizing that one of the best ways to improve the look, the aesthetics, and the health and longevity of your body is to improve your posture. And when I say stand like a superhero, there's an old saying that your psychology affects your physiology, okay? And if you try to imagine what a depressed person sounds like, I've probably said this on the podcast before, but if you imagine what a depressed person stands like, probably hunched forward, neck stooped forward, shoulders rounded, stuff like that. If you try to imagine a confident person who's having fun, it'll be standing tall with their shoulders nice and square, chest and chin held high, and core tight as well. So basically that's a really important thing, is just keeping the core tight, shoulders and chin high. One of the ways I get people to practice this is whenever they walk through a door, because repetition is key to a lot of things in life. Whenever they walk through a doorway, just try to walk through like you're a superhero, like you own that room. And that should put you into better posture than what you normally would be. There are nuances to it, but that's a good place to start.
Yeah, definitely. Do you know, that reminds me, if anybody's ever watched Grey's Anatomy, there's a surgeon on there called Amelia Shepherd, and before every surgery, she stands there like a superhero before every
Nice.
surgery and gets everybody in the room to it. So then she knows, she feels confident when she goes into it. And it's great for the body in terms
Mm.
of your posture is super important and your daily posture is super important, but the mindset that it kind of helps give you is amazing as well. You feel so much better standing tall, standing proud. But not only that, you come across as more confident.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So people will address you differently. One, they think you're confident. They may see you as more of an authority figure. They also may feel more open to approaching you because you seem confident. You seem like you're with it. Whereas somebody that's closed off, sometimes you avoid that because you don't want to approach that person. One, you might think that they're skittish or they don't want to be spoken to or anything like that. So being tall, standing proud. When I say being tall, I don't mean like physically tall, but standing tall.
No,
Because I mean, I can't
I
stand.
hope not for your sake. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, all right. But
So yeah, no, that's exactly
yeah,
right as well. That is, yeah, that's perfect. I think I'm just going to point out now as well. Me and Josh, because we started recording videos, our internet connections are not great. There might be a tiny little delay between us where you might hear us talking over each other. It's not us being rude. It's because we have actually got a little bit of a delay our end, but not enough to make a massive difference. So hopefully we'll work through it. But yeah, that's a really good point of that confidence, and it's something we've spoken about before in terms of that positive upward spiral, where if you're standing tall, standing confident, you're then perceived to be confident and in a good place. So people will treat you that way, which will then in turn give you more confidence. Blah blah blah. It will be that positive upward spiral.
yeah, definitely, definitely positive upward spiral. We haven't used that in a while.
We haven't. I
We
thought it
haven't
was
said
time to
that in a
break
while.
that. Yeah, time to break that bad boy back out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So let's move on to. Go on. I thought that was a. What was
Sorry,
that?
there's a lot of noise.
Uh,
I don't know. There's a lot of noise. I thought somebody was trying to break into my house. It wasn't. It was the postman. I was like, "Oh shit! I'm gonna have to fight somebody on camera."
that would be epic, especially after we've just started recording as
Imagine.
well. That would be amazing.
Yeah, just somebody breaks into my house and I shove a microphone up their ass. That wouldn't.
That'd be
That would have been
interesting
really
audio.
interesting.
Give me a Geek Corner rendition. It's been a while.
Oh, we're on video now.
We are on video. Let's do something
Shit.
fancy.
Wait a minute.
Oh, please, you have to watch this if you're just listening. What are you doing? I think he's just run upstairs.
It's Geek Corner!
Literally just ran down with a sledgehammer. Okay. There's your cardio for the day as well.
Yeah. What can I grab? Oh, grab the sledgehammer.
The sledgehammer. That's good. Jesus Christ, that was a little bit worrying. I'm going to have to remember that in editing, not to try not to cut out the blank sound then, because that needs to be heard and seen. Okay, Geek Corner. So, I finished watching. It took me 3 nights. This is how little spare time I have at the moment. It's taken me 3 nights to watch Extraction 2. But I know you've watched it. Extraction 2.
Yes.
Chris Hemsworth, directed by the people who done Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. What are your thoughts?
So, I enjoyed it. I think with these movies like this, if you don't go in with high expectations, you end up enjoying them more.
Yeah, definitely.
I really like the first one. And I was just like, do you know what? This is just going to be all out fighting, maybe some substance of a story. I just accept it, and it was great.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it as well. I need to watch the first one again to recap because I can't remember the whole story, but it's just a badass film. And there is a it's definitely setting up for a third. It's definitely setting up for at least a trilogy at the end of it. And Kimberly came up with an interesting point. This is not a spoiler, but with the nature of the person who is setting up the third film and what they say, she said, "Oh, imagine if it was Jason Statham." And I was just like, yeah, that would be that'd be he would fit into the mold very, very well for that. I don't know if it will be or whether it's going to be someone older. You know, I'm not too sure with the nature of the guy who delivers the line at the end. It could be. It could be either or. It could be like I could imagine it being him, but I could also imagine it being someone else as well. But highly, highly enjoyable film. I just the action sequence is a 21-minute. It's done as a one shot, although there was actually cutting involved. Obviously, it's just cut together like a one shot. It's phenomenal. Like to watch this. So for those who don't know what a one shot is, it's in this instance it gives the appearance that the camera never cuts to a different angle. It just follows the action for 21 minutes, and Jesus Christ, that scene is mental.
Yeah. So the one other movie that's like that, this was famous for it, is 1917, and 1917 was done in 2 shots.
Wow, that's 96 minutes. I looked up on that the other day because I haven't seen the film, but I saw 96 minutes basically of nearly one continuous shot. There's just like one extra one in there, which is mental. That is such an insane thing. Have you seen 1917?
Yeah.
Is it good? Worth a watch?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like all classic war movies. It's essentially, it's just nerve-wracking. It's just like, it's really nerve-wracking.
Okay, and I guess that one shot aspect kind of really adds to that nerve-wracking kind of thing as well. Then in that case, so that's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
The what I found, what I liked with Extraction 2 is the fight scenes were quite creative, but they were brutal. They were savage.
The one in the, so we talked about this outside of the podcast. I can't remember if it was yesterday or the day before when we were in the gym, and they had a fight. Obviously, there was a weight from a gym involved in the prison scene, but then there was another gym scene that I hadn't seen last time I spoke to you, and I saw this last night. That is the most creative use of a leg press in a fight that I think I will ever see, and it's going to put me off using a leg press pretty much ever again because it was grim. But then there was another one on the cable machine, which I don't think would actually ever work in real life, but was highly, highly entertaining. Yeah, really, it was just fun. It was creative. It was just like, what I like is that we're almost seeing a return to 80s and 90s style action films that aren't taking themselves crazy seriously, and it is just focusing on the action as a centerpiece, which is just highly entertaining. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Will definitely 100% watch a third one, and I'm gonna watch the first one again because I just need to recap about what it's like. But talking of that and talking of 1917 actually is a really good way to set up the next part of my Geek Corner, which is what kind of soldier would you have liked to have been? So when I say this, I am leaving it as open as possible. So this can be time period. It can be what kind of speciality would you like to have been. So if it's modern day, would you have liked to have been a special ops person? Would you like to be a sniper? Would you like to be frontline? If it was 3,000 years ago, would you like to have been a chariot rider in Greece or something like that? If you could have been a soldier from any time period and any type of soldier, what would it have been?
That's interesting because there's a part of me that would have always gone like really far back in time to pick the soldier I wanted to be, but now I'm like way more into like this tech side of stuff and like being like a Ethan Hunt style, have all the tech spy kind of guy. Espionage seems way cooler, I think. But then would you count espionage as soldier, or are you mean more like proper wartime soldier?
I think so. Using Extraction as an example, I think that's the furthest end of it. So not necessarily a spy, but like a private contractor type of person. So who is more of a soldier than an actual, like a spy type person.
Okay, if that's the case, I would never want to go near World War II or
Mhm.
World War One. That's just fucking brutal.
Yeah.
I think nowadays, even though it's still just as dangerous nowadays, there's and I know firepower is better nowadays, but safety is also better as well. I
Mm.
would say if I was going to do anything, if I had the grit to do it, it would be special forces.
That would be pretty epic as well.
Mm.
Yeah, probably along the same lines of that. I think again, I'm very much on. We're on the same wavelength again. Surprise, surprise. In regards to technology and stuff like that, I just like that technology. It looks all like just good when they're kitting up and stuff. And like you say, safety is another thing. I don't know if it would count, but part of me part of me would love to be some sort of fighter jet pilot, but not necessarily for the for the war side of things, but just for the rush of being in control of something like that, because that would be mental. But I'm not sure if that's the kind of what my involvement would like to be in that sort of thing, but I would just like to experience it, if that makes sense. So it would probably be like a special operations
Yeah.
soldier of some sort, but yeah, I would also love to be able to fly one of those planes, because I think that could be an incredible experience.
Also, but like, have you ever seen the movie Fury?
That's the one with Brad Pitt, isn't it? And Shia LaBeouf.
And yeah, in the tank.
I have not seen it, and Kimberly is surprised I haven't seen it because she said it's a great film. So I need to watch that.
It's really good, but that's brutal as well. Like
Mm.
the tank drivers, like the tank battalions, that looks nuts.
Yeah, I think. Okay, so just to take it to another extreme, so we've got a comparison here. If you had to be like an ancient kind of base soldier, have you got any idea what kind of what nationality, like what country would it have been, and what type of soldier would you have been?
Yeah, see, it's hard, isn't it? Because I don't know what was actually real and what's just like I've read in stories. But I think just looking at like weapon styles, stuff like that, I'd probably try be like Viking berserker, maybe like
Mm.
2 axes, just running in, going crazy. I think I prefer that to a big guy with a great sword or anything like that. You know, some kind of Viking-esque style. Or I would go like horseback archer.
Mm. That is insane skills. Like the Native Americans, the skills those guys had, especially on horseback, they could loose arrows at a ridiculous speed when it came to their warfare. And literally, the only thing that beat them was the
Yeah.
fact that that the Spanish and whoever, then like the settled Americans, whoever that was, I can't remember what nationalities that were. It's probably a lot of English as well. The only thing that stopped that was the fact that they got what's it called? There was a certain rifle that was invented that you didn't have to empty and then poke down with a stick and stuff like that. I cannot remember what it was, but there was a certain carbine. No, it wasn't a carbine. What we're talking about, I can't remember. But there was a repeat shot rifle. Basically, that was the only thing that they won against the Native Americans with, because it was the only thing that could take the horseback archers out with. Horseback archery is really, really
Didn't a
cool.
lot of them get wiped out by
Disease and stuff.
Didn't a lot of them get wiped out by disease? Yeah.
Yeah, that did happen as well. I think in terms of ancients, though, one of the ones I really like, because I like the idea of being able to wield a staff, but is a spear fighter. So long spear fighter, just the way they can do it, having a spear and a shield, that capability. My mind instantly goes to the fight in Troy, where they're fighting with the spears in that, which I think is amazing. But whatever the reality of that would have been, which is always grim, war's always glorified. Any aspect of it is going to be grim, but having that speciality, I think, would be really fucking cool.
Yeah, so like Spartan kind of.
Yeah, that's it. But more long range weapon, like spear fighting, as in not a throwing spear. You could throw it if you wanted to, but actually a spear that you hold on to and know how to fight with that. I think that'd be a really cool skill set to have.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Okay, let's move on to Fit Talk. This one actually started out as my Fit tip, but I've moved it on to Fit Talk because it's something that literally we done yesterday, and I done it for the first time. It was sweaty, disgusting, and absolutely fucking amazing. So the tip I was going to give was find at least one active hobby, and I'm given a couple of other things for this as well. One, if it can be outside, that would be amazing, although it doesn't have to be every time. And the other one is if it can be with other people as well, people who will keep you accountable. So I guess this is going to sound more like sports than anything else, because if you can do something where you're kept accountable as part of a team or even a few people, then A, you're going to have more fun because you're not just doing it by yourself, and B, it is going to keep you that's going to give you that accountability to carry on doing it. But yesterday, myself, Josh, and our other colleague Ben, we got some mats out in the outdoor gym, laid them on the floor. Shorts, t-shirt, no shoes, and we were going hell for leather, just striking, a little bit of grappling, and what's that style that we were doing at the end? What's that called?
Oh, so we were for the grappling?
Yeah, you were saying underarm. Something. What's it called?
Oh, so yeah, we were essentially hand fighting. We were trying to get underhooks on each other. So if you ever grappled, you from standing, or if you're doing kind of wrestling, you want to try and get underhooks on people. It's a good position to be in. So we were just hand fighting, trying to get it to underhooks.
And that was really fun. So that's the first time I've done something like that in way more than 10 years. And when I've ever done it before, it's been just like a few months because work's always got in the way, or, all those standard shitty excuses that people have. But this was really good fun. It was in the middle of the day. So that is our profession. Well, sorry, our work schedule. We haven't got much time in the evening, so our time off is in the middle of the day. And because I couldn't find any classes, the three of us were like, well, okay, should we do something ourselves? And it was really good fun. I don't like the idea of like grappling and getting all sweaty with guys, but for some reason, like I was like, well, it was just fun, man. I didn't even think about the fact we were covered in each other's sweat, which was disgusting when you hear something like that, but you're just so into the moment. You've got to be present, and you feel content at the end of it, and it's just fucking good fun. And I felt elated. And I was saying to you earlier on before we started recording, I'm aching in a few places that I haven't ached before. And what's that? What that's highlighted to me is where I might need to work on a bit of mobility or something like that. So that is definitely a new active hobby that I have right now. So yeah, what were your thoughts after yesterday? Because I know some bits of it were kind of new for you as well.
Yeah, so I haven't done a massive amount of striking before. I've done bits and bobs here and there. So that I've done a lot of grappling. Not enough. I'd like to carry on doing more, but I haven't done a massive amount of striking. Man, I love it, man. There's something about fighting, and people always think that fighting is going to be too aggressive, this and the other, but there's a respect between individuals. There's a aspect of play that you don't get in anything else of fighting, and connection between people that you don't get in anything else other than fighting. And also there's something really primal about it. So yes, when you talk about something like grappling, outside of grappling, it sounds disgusting. It sounds awful. Like one of the things I know has put you off is that I've said the multiple times I've made somebody tap out by putting my sweaty boob in their mouth, which is gross. But when you're grappling, you don't even think about how gross it is, because it's so primal.
Yeah,
and it's so fun.
Yeah, your instincts do take over, and I think obviously one of the things you're looking to do is to make the moves themselves instinctual, which is awesome in itself because you're trying to master your own body, your reflexes, and stuff like that, which is really fucking cool. And the other thing is you kind of want to win, and I'm going to put my hands up and say that I'm very new to all this stuff. Ben and Josh were definitely making concessions on my behalf when it was there, but at the same time, they were having fun as well because they understand what their capabilities are. I because this is so new to me, I don't necessarily understand what my capabilities are, and that's where the the kind of the sportsmanship comes into it as well, because you were letting me experiment, you were letting me understand what I'm trying to achieve while still doing enough to make sure you're getting your work in as well, which is very appreciated from my point of view. And it was just great fucking fun, to be fair. So we're definitely going to make that at least a weekly thing.
Yeah, definitely. What's great about fighting in general and learning how to fight is it's you cannot win by using like just unleashed aggression. It's got to be controlled aggression. Yes, it is aggressive, but it's controlled. So it teaches you how to control your aggression and use it in a smart way, especially with grappling. Grappling, I like to describe it as is like playing chess while somebody's trying to kill you.
Yeah, definitely that tactical kind of makes sense.
Yeah. But it's super good. And what's good with grappling completely new people, especially like you, who has already got some level of strength, is that you don't play by the rules. So what that does is it makes it harder for people who do play by the rules, because then I have to think differently.
That's it, and that's what I like about the real world application. Like, I'm not doing this to get into fights like that. I don't think that's what I think. Anyone who does that as a martial artist, unless they're going into competitive fights, anyone who does a martial artist quickly learns that it's probably not for them. If they're going in to go out on the street and fight people, that's not what it's about. And even if they get into it for that reason, it probably very quickly changes their mentality around it. It is to learn how to be that kind of athlete, to have that intuitive aspect about their physicality. Like, okay, if this happens, how would I react to it? And just learning how to develop all those skills. And like you say, like playing chess while someone's trying to kill you, you genuinely have to think, how am I going to be tactical about this situation? I want to be 3 moves ahead, so when this guy does this, I can do that to them. And it's just exciting, because it's probably it's the most high stakes dynamic thing you can probably do, is fighting another human being. So immensely enjoyable. So it's kind of stepped away from the Fit Talk point a little bit in terms of finding one active hobby, but you can tell that this is something that's really, really fun. So when I'm going to bring it back to the active hobby now, this is what a hobby should be to you, like something you should be able to speak about with this level of enthusiasm. What is there you think that you could possibly do that will make you just want to go back for more? If you're doing it once a week and you finish for that hour, you want to be looking forward to that hour straight away again the following week. That's the kind of hobby you're doing. And look, the best way to become an interesting person is to be trying different things. Okay, so if you think you're a boring person, go out and fucking try different things. You'll become really interesting, and then you're going to find something that you really enjoy, and that'll become a hobby anyway. So it is a win-win-win situation on this one.
Yeah. What that does with having an active hobby that you really enjoy and you're passionate about, that directs your training as well. So, for instance, if you get really into this fighting thing, you're like, well, actually, I want to get stronger or quicker or get my cardio better for fighting, so I'm better at fighting. So then you improve on your fitness anyway, and you have more of a drive to go to the gym, because that's going to improve your game or whatever your hobby is. And that works for all active hobbies, whether it's water sports or hiking or playing any form of sport. That would give you drive to train harder.
Yeah, that's such a good point, actually. It can be, once you get passionate about something, that can then be that driver that makes you want to improve. Funnily enough, I've just finished listening to Cameron Haynes' book, and is it called Endure? Something like that, I think. And Cameron Haynes, for those who don't know, he's a bow hunter. He lives in Portland, Oregon, or somewhere in Oregon. And every aspect of his life for the last 30 years has just been principally about, how do I become the best possible bow hunter I can be? And because of that, this guy is a phenom. Like, he's ridiculous. He's up there with the David Goggins of the world. In fact, David Goggins done the afterward on his book, which is quite entertaining. And he's become, I'm not saying this is what you need to do, by the way, guys, but he's become so consumed by his passion that he has now won 200-mile races, like ultra marathons, because he just wants to get better in the mountains with a bow, where he has to stalk his prey and then carry it back to, like, skin it, carry it back. So he trains like a beast in the gym. He runs ultra marathons that he wins, but none of it is for doing those activities' sake. It is for the whole pursuit of getting better at bow hunting. And it's a really good mindset. You don't have to take it to that extreme, but if you find something you're passionate about that health and fitness and diet can help you with, it's going to give you a much better reason to become good at those other things.
Get a hobby, people.
Get a hobby. Okay, let's put the white lab coats on and let's talk about sex, baby. Do you remember that song?
Oh,
Do the
yeah.
jiggle.
It's a great song.
Okay, so study time. Low sexual satisfaction linked to memory decline in later life. Interesting. Get out there and fuck. So this is from... This study is from, by the time this episode releases, it will be a month old. It came out on May 30th, 2023. It's from Penn State. And the extract at the top is: low sexual satisfaction in middle age may serve as an early warning sign for future cognitive decline, according to a new study. The study, which tracked associations between erectile function, sexual satisfaction, and cognition in hundreds of men aged 56 through 68, found that declines in sexual satisfaction and erectile function were correlated. You need to understand that word correlated, not caused, by the way, but were correlated with future memory loss. What was unique about our approach, this is from one of the guys who ran the study, what was unique about our approach is that we measured memory function and sexual function at each point in the longitudinal study, so we could look at how they changed together over time, said Martin Slewinski, professor of human development and family studies at Penn State and co-author of the study. What we found connects to what scientists are beginning to understand about the link between life satisfaction and cognitive performance. The study explored the relationship between physical changes like the microvascular changes relevant for erectile function and psychological changes such as lower sexual satisfaction to determine how the changes relate to cognition. They examined the shift starting in middle age because it represents a transition period where declines in erectile function, cognition, and sexual satisfaction begin to emerge. Scientists have found that if you have low satisfaction generally, so not just in sex, you are at a higher risk for health problems like dementia, Alzheimer's disease, cardiovascular disease, and other stress-related issues that can lead to cognitive decline, he said. Improvements in sexual satisfaction may actually spark improvement in memory function. We tell people they should get more exercise and eat better foods. We're showing that sexual satisfaction also has importance for our health and general quality of life. The study found that decreases in erectile function and sexual satisfaction were both associated with memory decline, with the researchers say points to a connection between psychological and physical health. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, this is great. So I've read a bit further on, and it's saying about prior studies have found a link between microvascular changes and changes in erectile function over time. And it's talking about here how they originally developed Viagra as a treatment for cardiovascular problems. But obviously, then it started giving people erections. So there's a link between, issues to do with our heart and our blood vessels and getting a stonk on, which is right. And then it makes sense, doesn't it? If there's a lack of blood flow, if there's a lack of this going on, then it's going to affect your brain as well and affect your memory. But what I like, he has a little quote at the end here which I really like. I'm just going to quickly read out. It says, "We already have a pill for treating erectile dysfunction. What we don't have is an effective treatment for memory loss. Instead of the conversation between being about treating ED, we should see that as a leading indicator for other health problems, and also focus on improving sexual satisfaction and overall well-being, not just treating the symptom. So what it's saying is that if you're having erectile dysfunction, not just giving people Viagra, but going, okay, what's going on in the rest of your life?
Yeah.
Why is this happening? Are you mentally not well? Are your relationships a problem? And we talk about this all the time, about your people's lives as a whole need to be addressed, not just one aspect. So, and your relationships with other people, with your friends and your loved ones, are a part of, we're social human beings. It's a part of our nature. So that needs to be addressed, as well as your internal mental health and physical health.
Yeah, I can agree more with that. And look, for any guy, and this is probably 9 guys out of 10 who have suffered any form of erectile dysfunction, is always psychological. I'd say probably 9 times out of 10 psychological, because something can sometimes happen where it changes your mind, you become more comfortable or something, and then it happens. Usually it's down to overthinking, because we live now in a stressful environment, and we didn't have those stresses when we were living in caves in caveman times. So I expect the whole erectile dysfunction thing back then was way different. And this is, I would say this goes to like epigenetics in a way, in terms of this is something environmentally that is happening to us, just because of the other stresses that we now put on our lives that aren't just fucking hunting and gathering. Basically, if we're adding a load of other stresses, it's going to become that much harder. No pun intended. So one of the notes that I made here, it kind of makes sense when evolution is taken into consideration, because at the end of the day, we are here, humans are here to pass on legacy. Okay, we're here to pass on, males here to pass on our seed, women, we're here to procreate. Men and women are here to procreate and just develop the next generations. That's pretty much the lot of any living thing on this planet. Okay, we just happen to be very self-aware about all of this, so we control our environment as well. Now, if we start to lose that drive, we're not really, because this is like the opposite of an upward positive spiral. This is a downhill spiral, because if we start to lose that drive, degradation is going to happen both mentally and physically, because we no longer serve a purpose for what life is predetermined to do, which is procreate. So if we are losing the ability to get a rock on, then technically we're losing what gives us our value evolutionarily to progress society. So what's the point of having everything else work? You may as well just start winding down the whole system.
Yeah.
Sex is another note I've written here is that sex is the tool to achieve that. But luckily, we don't actually have to breed if we don't want to anymore for sex, because sex is fun. So whether we're breeding or not, it's the pursuit of sex and the act of it that is likely to keep us sharper, because if we're having sex, then our body still thinks it's trying to pass on its genes. So I hope that makes sense. When I wrote it out, it did. But basically, yeah, if we're anticipating and we're in the pursuit of sex, that is going to make us think clearer, because that is fulfilling our biological destiny. Oh, that was a good line, wasn't it?
What I will say, yeah, that was good. That was a good line. What I will say is that there's a sect of people that will say, well, it's not as simple as that. I can't just have sex. I need to be able to find somebody and have a relationship. If you're struggling to get into a relationship or find that right person, whatever it is, then what you need to work on is not work on those external problems of people and putting it on everybody else. You need to work on yourself. Look at, right, how do I feel within myself mentally and physically, and how can I improve on those? Because when you do that, you become more attractive. When you look at when you are confident within yourself and you are happy within yourself and you are physically able and feel good and physically well, you become more attractive and more sought after. And then you end up finding like-minded people because you're more open. So if you're struggling to find relationships, do that sort of thing, work on the internal stuff to then help improve the external stuff.
Yeah, 100%. And if you are working on that sort of stuff, Josh, that you're talking about, the likelihood of you finding a quality partner who you're going to resonate with and have a fulfilling relationship just increases tenfold, basically. So it's definitely worth putting the time into it. And usually it's when you find that you're working on yourself, you're very content, and you're kind of looking for the next shag or looking specifically for a partner. When that kind of goes to the back of your mind because you're so content on working on your own shit, that's probably when someone will pop up in your life, because you are now, there's, for lack of a better word, there's no desperation there. You seem like you've got it together. You're working on yourself. You're building yourself up, and that's more attractive to whoever your potential sexual partner is.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, buddy. Okay, let's move on to the hot topic. So,
Hot topic.
the hot topic. So, this hot topic is basically, I think we've done a similar thing before, but this sort of stuff is always worth repeating, because if you're not doing this sort of thing now and you don't know what you should be doing, this is perfect. Okay. And this hot topic is about creating an evergreen plan, because one of the biggest things that we find is that people oftentimes don't know what they're supposed to be doing in the gym. They might know the exercises sometimes, say they've been going to the gym for a little while, but they don't know how that fits into the bigger picture. So what I wanted to give you guys today is a sort of results is I want to give you a plan that can be rinsed and repeated pretty much indefinitely. And the drivers are to allow you to get fit and healthy, get fit and stay healthy without a load of the complicated crap. Okay, so you always know what you should be doing. The actions I'm going to take is laying out the principles of a 12-week plan that can be repeated 4 times a year, and you're still going to see results. And this is, we're going to talk about principles. We may talk about specific exercises, but it's more about the principles of each phase within this first. So one thing I will get out of the way is, if you are a complete beginner, you might need to do something that doesn't come into the rinse and repeat thing, and that is the adaptation phase. And that is basically, if you've never lifted before, that's getting your body to a place where you can lift, where you understand the movements. Probably the best place to hire a coach, just so you understand how to do certain exercises, how to lift weights safely, and going back to what we talked about earlier on, improving your posture and just the general structure of your body. But once you've done that, I would say the first phase that you should look at is a strength phase. Once you understand how to move your body, going into a strength phase, mastering the big lifts. So that we may as well talk about the big 5, but I will include a 6th one in that. That is going to be a deadlift, some sort of squat, a bench press, an overhead press, some sort of horizontal row, and I'm going to put a vertical row into there as well, like a pull up or a lat pull down. Have I missed anything in that? I think that was 6, wasn't it? So
Yeah,
go on.
Sorry, yeah, I was going to say that I think the kind of ones I go for are like a push, pull, squat, hinge, push, pull, squat, hinge, lunge, carry.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like you can't really go wrong with that.
Yeah, perfect. I really love the inclusion of the lunge and the carry in there. I was going to bring them into it. So there's an old school strength coach called Dan John, and he used to be a massive proponent of these things. Do you know Dan John? I see you nodding there. That's cool. So yeah, Dan John is like proper old school. I've got a few of his books, and they're the exact ones he used to say. So if you can do that single leg stuff as well, that'd be perfect. And carrying is just a really good way to get you strong, and it will increase all your other lifts over time as well, especially deadlifts, but all your other lifts as well, because it will teach you how to create tension throughout the whole body whilst moving. So yeah, in terms of a strength phase, master the big lifts and those accessories, and just get strong as fuck, and just do that for 4 weeks. Just focus on that for 4 weeks, getting stronger. The reason I've picked strength as a starting place is because that will then set you up for being able to handle the intensity and the volume of the next phases, and it will allow you to do a decent weight for those phases as well, so you're not just like lifting an empty dumbbell or something like that. So the next phase would be a hypertrophy phase, and a hypertrophy phase is basically learning how to build muscle. And this has many, many benefits, not just the aesthetic, which is what most people think of when it comes to building muscle, but probably the best one, the best benefit you've got for this is learning how to connect to the muscle in the first place and learning how to understand where they are in the body and creating symmetry with those muscles as well.
Yeah, definitely. Hypertrophy phase is so underrated. So many people, I guess it's just us what we see, but we see a lot of mainly strength people, and then people who want to do performance style stuff, like, which is obviously we're going to go into in a second. A lot of people who just want to do like HIIT or CrossFit or something like that. But a hypertrophy phase, so building some mass, getting some symmetry, like you said, but then learning how to connect and get that proprioception is so important, man. So many people just don't understand how to connect to your lats or connect to your shoulders or something like that. And because on a strength phase, it's quite easy to ignore that because you're just picking up heavy shit. It's so important to be able to isolate specific muscle groups out.
It could almost be argued, to be fair, that the adaptation phase, if you're a beginner, could be some sort of hypertrophy phase, to be fair, because again, learning that muscle connection as soon as possible is key. The only difference is that sometimes there might be a bit more, if you're brand new to lifting, you might want to create a bit of stability first. So the isolation stuff might not be as important, but that does become more important in hypertrophy. And also the one of the bigger benefits of this muscle connection stuff that we harp on about all the time is that if you're injured and you got to rehab yourself, or if you've got a postural problem that you need to correct, then learning how to connect to those muscles is going to expedite that process so much better. It's just going to make you learn how to connect to the muscles that you want to hit to balance out the muscles that aren't working properly, or to fix the muscles that aren't working properly. So the hypertrophy phase comes second. And then obviously, if you're getting good at hypertrophy, the chances are you're going to look fucking fantastic as well with that too. So you're going to grow muscles in all the right places. And the third phase is a performance phase. And this is along the lines of improving your cardiovascular, your muscle endurance, and your power output. So these things will build on the strength and the hypertrophy phase massively, and they're just going to make your gas tank bigger. They're going to make you more explosive, have better general, I would say this phase is probably the most important in terms of the evergreen stuff, because if you're doing this, you could almost do this kind of phase indefinitely if you've got the other two locked in, because this is probably the one that's going to have the most real world application if you're not fussed about getting ultimately strong or ultimately ripped. Although the best thing is you'll probably get a little bit of both with this performance.
Yeah, this is the one I find that people who have desk jobs enjoy the most. They enjoy this phase the most because they have so much time doing like sitting still and doing nothing. They have all this pent up energy, so they do this all the time. But it's the one that like powerlifters, stuff like that, that's the phase that they all avoid completely. They try to never do because it feels like ass. But doing that, and this is where like a lot of grit comes in, and it teaches you to be able to push through things, which then is transferable to the other phases. That kind of like grit attitude is transferable to your hypertrophy when you're like trying to go to complete failure sometimes on a set, or like really grinding out muscles. The performance phase really teaches you a lot about mindset.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and that's a really important point. And when I'm saying about performance, by the way, this isn't something like HIIT circuits or something or anything like that. This is what would be dubbed as functional training at its core. So learning how to improve your cardiovascular doesn't just mean running and stuff like that. It means lifting weights effectively, and you can run, but just how to combine everything, especially the muscular endurance and the power output, but not just for that cardiovascular response. It's also, you will be getting stronger. You will be learning unilateral stuff. You'll be working outside the normal box of weightlifting, where you'll be moving laterally and not just forward and backwards. Or if you imagine a box drawn around the body, you want to kind of come out of that box as much as you can in this to help balance out the body a little bit more as well, in terms of performance, not just aesthetics in this.
Yeah, I love a good performance phase. It's something I probably do the least of, and I should do more of, to be honest.
100%, yeah, and it's, I think everyone should do a bit of it. Again, it's not at the expense of strength and hypertrophy, but I think if you've got a decent base of those, then it is probably one of the most important ones. Just to move better, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. To be able to get a body that moves better, that performance phase is really important. So just to sum up what those 4 phases are. So if you're a complete beginner, an adaptation phase, and that could be just getting your body used to the movement. So this could be a lot of kettlebell and dumbbell work, like goblet squats, and getting in some lunges. So you're doing a little bit of unilateral work. Body weight stuff is really good for this as well, like push-ups, pull-ups, assisted if they need to be, dips, all of that sort of stuff, just to get your body used to the idea of moving in a resistance training based way. Then once your body is confident in the movements, moving on to a strength phase where you master the big lifts. And again, you can add a carry and lunges into there as well, just to get that functionality and increase your overall capacity for strength. Then you move on to a hypertrophy phase, which is growing the muscles, learning how to connect to them, and creating symmetry in the movement as well. And then performance phase, which is improving your cardiovascular, your muscular endurance, and your power output, because that will just tie a neat bow on all the phases put together. Now, the benefits of this type of phase training. So let's just say each phase takes 4 weeks, okay? So assuming you've already got the beginning base, so we're going to omit the adaptation phase at the moment and just go for the other ones. Say they take you 4 weeks each, then that is 12 weeks. And if you repeat that 4 times, that is your year's worth of training there. And I'll be honest, if you're a relative beginner, you're not actually going to have to change anything in those 4 phases. The only things that might change is the weights that you're lifting, like how heavy you're lifting. That could be the only thing that changes. And if you ran that sort of program 4 times throughout the year, then you would see constant progress. Now, some of the benefits of this is it's going to be measurable as well. So every time you run through this phase, you're going to be able to compare it to the last time you've done it, and you're going to be able to measure how much better you are than each of the 4 times you do it, which is good. So obviously the first one will be a baseline, but I pretty much guarantee you will see progress, measurable progress, the subsequent 3 times you run this.
Yeah, definitely. It's a really good way of doing it. And you can also change it up. Like if you wanted to do each phase a little bit longer, you could do 12 weeks and of each one, and then that spans over a whole year, you know. But I quite like the 4 weeks switch. And yeah, having that measurable progress is going to allow you to, it's going to drive you to push it a little bit more next time you come in. You go, oh, last time I did this, I hit these numbers, I want to beat them. You know?
Yeah, and then that almost gives you motivation in itself just to beat that, so which is really good. The next point I've got is one of the benefits is covering all the bases, because if you're covering strength, muscle gain, and performance, there's not much else you need to cover. You might want to throw in maybe 1 or 2 extra runs in if you feel like you want to increase your cardiovascular ability, but literally running through these 3 phases 3 times a week is going to give you massive amounts of results and put you ahead of 99% of the other people out there.
Yeah, definitely. You're getting that all-round physique that we keep talking about all the time. Being that generalist, having the ability to do all of it is just going to give you. It's going to be also injury preventing as well.
Yeah, definitely, especially when it comes to that performance phase as well, and all the phases, to be honest. But if you can move your body well in each of these, then, like you say, injury prevention is going to be a really big point. And you're going to have constant forward momentum during this as well. So again, you're not going to plateau, especially if this is your first full year of consistent training. Even if you are repeating the same thing 4 times, just because it's going to be a new stimulus, you're only doing it 4 weeks at a time, so you're by no way exhausting each phase each time, and it will just allow for constant forward momentum all the time, and it's going to stop you plateauing the whole way forward.
Which is wonderful. That is, I'd love to. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, just like that comes into like the mindset of celebrating your wins as well, because if you have a year of successful training where you don't plateau at all, then that puts you in a really good mental space around training. It just cuts the frustration down to a bare minimum and allows you to just keep on moving forward. The other thing is about this that you've kind of touched on a little bit, Josh, is this type of training, this type of phase training, it's easy to adapt it to changing circumstances. So for instance, if you finish a strength phase and you were doing it 3 times a week, but you think, oh, maybe I can fit in 4 sessions now, then you just change it up for the hypertrophy and the performance phase. But the thing is, you know what the principles of these workouts are now. You know that your goal is to either build muscle or to increase your performance. So you just chuck in an extra workout day that has some different exercises, and you can easily adapt it. It's just about knowing the overall focus of where you're trying to get.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's so easy to adapt because you have it's having this overall kind of discipline that you're following, but it's not setting you into it. So I'm doing hypertrophy right now, but it's not like I have to do this amount of this, and this. You can switch it around, do as you need to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, perfect. And the last point I've got here is it can easily be regressed or progressed if needed. So it kind of goes on the same lines of the last point. But look, life gets in the way for so many of us for legitimate reasons sometimes. So if you have an injury, or if work means you can't train as much, or if you're traveling for work, each of these phases can actually be adjusted, and so can the movements within them, to make sure you are able, again, if you're keeping the nature of each phase, whether that's the strength, the hypertrophy, or the performance, keeping that in your mind, that is the goal for each 4 weeks, you can adapt whatever situation you're in to accomplish that goal within that phase.
Yeah, and that's it. We will have moments where we have to pull it back a little bit, or we'll have moments where we go, you know what, I'm ready. Let's ramp this up. You will always like who's the guy who starting strength 5x5 guy.
Mark
You could do 5x5. Yeah, you could do 5x5 forever and keep getting stronger. You know what I mean? So like this can be easily progressed.
Yeah, and that's the main thing, guys. When I think a lot of the mistakes that people in our industry make is that they are assuming that people will give up everything in their lives to become great at this. And with the best intentions, this is going out to you listeners, with the best intentions you may have, where you think, I cannot wait to just give my all to this, I'm gonna put a big number out there. I'm gonna say 95% of you aren't going to be able to give what you expect you might be able to give. Okay, this is where self-awareness is really, really key. So just being able to train, if you're saying to yourself, I might be able to train 5 times a week, get rid of that might be able to, and say, I'm definitely going to train 3 times a week. Okay, and understand that about yourself, about the situation, that the motivation will not always be there, and that is going to allow for a much smoother journey. You're going to be looking forward to your next session instead of stressing out when you're going to fit the next session in, and that's just going to lead to much, much better results because you're going to be consistent for longer.
Yeah, I had a conversation with a client about this earlier actually, and was saying about how, I mean, she's just got a new job where she's going to be working a bit more. And I said, you need to treat, like, you wouldn't say, oh, I can't go to work today. I've got too much on. You need to treat the gym like that. The gym needs to become non-negotiable. It needs to become non-negotiable. This is the times I'm training. Nothing, unless there's an emergency, like unless there's a family emergency, this is non-negotiable. this is what I'm doing. If this is my routine, and I'm not stopping it just because you want me to work extra hours, or you want me to do this or that or whatever. This is my life. This is just as important as everything else.
Yeah. Yeah, if not more important, because it's, that positive upward spiral. If you're looking after yourself, everything else around you tends to get looked after better as well. Guys, that is pretty much where we're going to leave it for that hot topic. Josh, where can they find us?
Yes. Well, no.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah. So
How do you? How do you embarrass an archaeologist?
I do not know.
Give him a used tampon and ask him which period it came from.
For fuck's sake.
That's gross.
That is gross. I generally thought that was going to be something about boners then, but no, you completely went where I was thinking. Okay, you've said it at the beginning of this session already, but where can they find us, Josh? Let them know our socials.
They can find us the RDA Strength System on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. The RDA System on Twitter, and our website at the rdasystem.com or theliftinglounge.com. Our Facebook group is The Lifting Lounge. I am Josh from The Lifting Lounge on Instagram and TikTok. You are Jack from The Lifting Lounge on Instagram and TikTok. And we're also on YouTube as The Lifting Lounge podcast.
Amazing. YouTube, get watching, people. And the more of you who watch, and the better the production value is going to get over time, because at the end of the day, we want to do this full time. So that'd be amazing. Guys, please, in respect of that, leave us a 5-star review, like and subscribe on YouTube. That's a new one I've got to say now. Whatever platform you use, share it around anyone who you think you can provide value to, because again, these algorithms, they reward people whose audience participate. So do as much as you can to help us get our message out, and we will give you as much value as we can in return.
Happy days.
Happy days. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, have a fantastic day, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.